Today, I'm so excited to welcome Ana Gabriela Juarez to On the Rocks. Ana is an outstanding Guatemalan professional who's made a significant impact in the international mining sector in the field of environmental and social management. Her leadership and work in empowering women in mining and her educational initiatives in the Central American region have been recognized worldwide. In 2022, Ana was honored to be included among the top 100 most inspirational women in mining globally, making her the first Guatemalan and one of the first Central American women to receive this prestigious award. Additionally, she's become one of the first Central American women to serve on the board of directors of an internationally listed mining company on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Today, I'm particularly excited because we're chatting about Ana's new book, Ana's Adventures at the Mine, which you can buy on Amazon today for your favorite future miner or geologist. With that, pour a glass of your favorite Guatemalan rum or tea, and let's dive in. All right. Well, welcome, Ana, to On the Rocks. Super excited to have you here today. And before we jump into it, what are you drinking today?
Well, I am Guatemalan, and we were talking about this before, so I wish I would have taken your advice and taken some Guatemalan rum. But because I am in super cold Canada, and it's super cold already, and we're just like starting November, I have a warm cup of tea because otherwise I don't feel my fingers. So I need something hot and warm to just keep me going here.
I think if you just add the rum to the tea, maybe that's a good combination of both.
That would have been a good idea too.
Well, in honor of of Guatemala, I am drinking Ron Zacapa, Guatemalan rum, which I was just sharing, like, is the first rum that has converted me to drinking rum on the rocks. Of a good friend of mine, Fernando, said I had to try it because it was like very similar to bourbon in a lot of ways, and so that's what I'm drinking today because I'm in sunny South Florida, and why not? So yeah, so cheers.
No, that's a great one to have. So cheers.
Yeah, and Ron Zacapa, if you want to sponsor On the Rocks, we're very open to any kind of deal. So you brought up Guatemala, so I would love to have you tell us a little bit about your background and all the wonderful things that you're doing with mining and women in mining. But first, could you tell us about your book launch, which I'm super excited about?
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, so it has been an adventure, not really Anna's adventures just at the mine, but also Anna's adventures getting this book out. And really, it's my first book. I self-published, so was also an interesting process because everything I had to get, from the person that did the drawings to, getting a coach on board to help me think of everything that I had to have in place to be able to, start this idea. And to ensure that it had value, right? That at the end, that's what we wanted as well. So I started really this idea of the book some time ago already, but really I started writing, like put it on paper, like what the idea was and what I wanted to achieve with the book and all that. Since May, I think one of the first things I got out was the name of the book. And I thought it might change because what the coach told me, like, the book, don't marry the title of the book. It will change. Yeah. But I think, no. I had such a clear idea what I really wanted to do that the idea of the name of the book didn't change. It has been super interesting. I mean, it was a lot because we did it in May and we took it was published in September, mid-September. So fast. Super fast, yeah. Super fast. What was an interesting process, I met the cartoonist that I ended hiring, a Guatemalan cartoonist, which she did an awesome job as well. I wanted a lot of the things in the book to represent really as well our culture. And so you don't see it in the first pictures, but the other ones inside, Ana is an environmentalist because it's me, Ana. Yeah. So it has a little leaf. I asked her to put little things that would, say that I am Guatemalan. Yeah. So we incorporated also my culture into the story, into the Ana, the personality of Ana. So it was a lot of little details, but in the end was amazing. We came out, I wrote it in Spanish because that's my second language. I was raised in Germany as well. So I speak German first and then Spanish, but now I speak more Spanish than I do German. So I wrote it in Spanish. And as soon as we launched it, one of the organizations that was supporting us, that's the Lundin Group of companies, for the launch of the book, said they would like to translate it into English because they had a lot of minds as well that speak English. And I thought, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So they immediately translated it for us. And I think we almost parallel published both books, the Spanish version and the English version. A bit later, like not even a couple of days after I think I published that we were launching it, I got the Saudi Geological Survey interested in translating into Arabic. So we launched it right now, end of October into Arabic. And we're doing a big event in Saudi for the FMF, for the launch of that book in Arabic, and next year in January. And the other interesting thing is that there were so many Brazilians that came up saying, oh, we would love to see this book also in Portuguese. And so we got the Mining Chamber of Brazil. Like I asked them if they would be interested in translating it for us. And they completely got into it. And like 4 or 5 days after, they had already a translated copy.
Wow.
So was super quick. And we also launched it right now in October. After we launched the Spanish version, because that's the first one really that we launched, we sold so many copies that I really didn't expect. Because we were just starting to promote, and everything was organically promoted through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And we got into 38 Amazon bestseller list. Wow. So I was, kind of shocked. But it's been an interesting experience. I mean, you definitely see that there was a need for it. I had felt it in my region, but I see that this is not something that our region was looking for, but that it was such a big thing for everyone, right? We are seeing that we have less people getting into the industry, even thinking of mining as an industry to work in. We have a lot of old people, I think, as well in our industry, and barely new talent getting in. So I think there's so many aspects of it. And then, of course, the gender piece as well, right?
Yeah.
We don't have enough women wanting to participate in the industry. So I think I tackled several areas that I think are on the red flags that we right now have as industry. And I think that's why it became so attractive for so many people.
Well, and I know for myself, like I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and it's like one of my things that like she loves rocks. She and all of her friends, like they're at this age, they love to collect stones. And when we go to like the Whole Foods supermarkets here, they sell like crystals, in the aisle, and they go straight for that. I mean, they love it, and yet they don't focus on geology or that kind of, mining engineering at all in the curriculum. And I had even had a few folks on LinkedIn say, like, for other geologists, like, what other geology books or mining related books are you guys getting for your kids? And there's not much out there, especially at this kind of age range, right? I mean, so I think it's phenomenal, and it's such a great piece. Could you tell us a little bit about the story? Like, what is the actual story in the book?
Yeah. So, the book really follows the story of Anna, which is me. And it's also funny because the second main character is my dog. She's called Joy. Awesome. So that's my real dog. Yeah. So she's in the story too. And I'm a very curious girl. Like I'm that's me really. So it's not really I can relate. I mean, that's exactly it. I can read it and they say like, oh yeah, that's Anna. And she goes into a journey really into the mining world, but it's really a magic world. And they discover really the complexities that there is in the industry, and the roles that also the women have in the industry, and the importance of the environment and the social part. But everything is a tale. It's a tale. So everything is a story of magic. They enter, and there's Anna's birthday. They go into play with their grandma's trunk. And the grandma in the story is Maureen Jensen, the Canadian Mining Hall of Famer. So she plays my grandma in the story. So Anna is playing with her geology stuff, and because she's a geologist, and suddenly they find a map and they enter into this mining realm by, by magic. And while they're there, they're like have to, bond as a group of girls because she's with friends, and go through this adventure and different challenges that they go. I am a really big Harry Potter fan, so I think some of my yes, I got it from there too because I really like that. And I think putting that piece of magic in it makes it also interesting. So it is a magic tale, but at the same time, we do provide a lot of technicalities of our industry, and we do talk a bit about the processes, but really without going deep into it, but just like highlighting the generalities of it, because we still wanted to keep it entertained and fun. So at the end, they get out of the challenge and of this adventure with more knowledge, with deeper friendship, knowing more of the industry. And I think it's an empowerment book kind of too, right? That women, sometimes we think just in the little things that we can be part of, but it's open for them opportunities. They talk about, how women now drive bulldozers or whatever. So that's like the kind of things that they're learning through the book as well, that they can do whatever they want to be. And still be part of the industry as well.
Well, and so how did you pull in, you're so involved with women in mining in various parts of the industry. What were some of the lessons that you pulled out of your work in that area and put into the story?
I think in the story, I do talk about, that historically there's not many, because there's a trauma as well where they're the boys that are picking on the girls, and, they have to, and one of the boys tells them like, look, you're in mining is not for women, get out of here kind of thing, so I do put that in, but at the end as well, we do show, I do show in the story that, the females have so much and add so much value to the industry, and but at the end, it's like the plot at the end is done like an encouragement between the girls, a bond that they form between the girls. And that they can do it, and that they're strong too, and then they can do it. So it's an interesting one because you try to put in the different areas that you want to talk about it without, losing the tale and the history that you want to create and the magic of it, right?
No, absolutely. And what have you seen in your work with women in mining? Like for listeners, you've focused on this for years now. Are you seeing big changes in how things are evolving in the work that you're doing in that area?
So it's interesting. Yesterday was at an event from us that like a report they did from Canada, that you would think, Canada is quite advanced in the mining space, and maybe also the movement of women. But no, the trend is almost flat. You have 13.5% here in Canada, statistic I think that was that they showed, and it's been flat. And it is some improvements, but barely. So the medium is 13.5, and it has not really changed, which is that. But then you compare it to other industries, and you see they have a bit more, but their trend is also flat. There's not much improvement. In Central America and the Caribbean, that's where I've been doing the work of women in mining, with women in mining Central America. I do see that we have a lot of difference and discrepancies between the different mining companies. We have mining companies that are really in diapers and have percentages super, super low. Of maybe
love that they're in diapers.
No, really, like they're starting with this, just trying to be bringing more women in board, and the people they have are almost everyone is on administrative roles, right? They're like the cleaning ladies or the secretaries, and barely any technical people. So you can see that type of groups, but then you also have, and that's one of the examples I reuse for our region as well, that you have Barrick Dominican of Barrick Pueblo Viejo, and in República Dominicana and Dominican Republic, and they have had a huge and impressive change And I think in the last 5 years, they grew from having around 8% of women representation to have around 24% now. So that's a lot of change. That's a big change. They have around more than 600 women now working in their company. So it's a big shift that they had to do. It came, of course, from the top, a really clear, direction. The top is female representative, which is also awesome to see. Both of them, the GM and the president and general manager of the country, Nova Barrack, both are female. And they had a clear path where they wanted to go, and they knew what the steps they needed to take. So I think that you don't see that often, even here in Canada.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I mean, there's a lot of talk, but I think that clear path and the steps is the big difference, right? Like you hear folks talk about those bigger vision targets, but getting into execution is not so common.
And we have big challenges in our region, because if you think, we have universities that we barely have geologists. We don't have no mining engineers. We don't have a lot of these disciplines that you would think that, you need for a mining industry. We don't have them. We don't have universities that provide this education. So these mining companies had to do this super extra steps to be able to ensure that they're providing the education to be able to fulfill their roles too. And it's not just for women, but also for men. So to ensure that we have local people in the positions as well. So I think there's a lot of challenges that we as a region have to ensure that we have more female representation.
Yeah, and I think, it's such a great point, though, just to have sustainable local, a local workforce that can take on, roles throughout the organization. And I'm sure, in some countries it's easier to do that, and with some companies it's easier to do that, but establishing a process, right? Do you work with the universities at all as well on that part? Like, is there a push to create mining engineering programs and stronger geology programs?
So Women in Mining Central America did subscribe an agreement with a Peruvian university called Juarez. It's like post-secondary. And they have been giving, I'm not completely sure about the numbers right now, but we have given out around 80 scholarships.
Wow.
For Central America and the Caribbean, for master degrees, for post-secondary education regarding mine closures, like everything that has to do with mining. They had quite a lot of options, and they were super generous with supporting us with getting more, not just women, but also men educated, specifically about mining topics. So that has been really, really great. And that is one of the things. But right now, recently, for example, Barrack Dominican did also an agreement with a university, I think, of Chile, and if I'm not mistaken, from the United States as well. And they established with a local university a master program, if I'm not mistaken, or an engineering program for mining engineering. So that's like the first little steps that we're taking in our region to move it forward. But it has a lot of challenges too, because you're hoping that people are going to participate in this type of, also people that are not from the industry already, right? People that are younger and looking for options that they're thinking of, might be cool to do mining engineering because this has potential in my country for me to get a job in later, right?
Well, even, you started in the environmental space as well, right? How did you end up in mining? Where you started?
Yeah, no, I'm, like you say, and I think that's the beauty of the industry too, right? You need so many people, and I think that's part of what we wanted to showcase in the book as well, that there's so many people that work in the industry. You don't need, like yourself, right? You don't need to necessarily be in the mining site to be part of the industry. I studied environmental science in Germany and specialized in environmental water management, and I did my master's in England. But I really joined the space because my family's company is an environmental consulting company.
Mm-hmm.
And when the company started in 2000, the prices of the commodities were getting kind of back on track. We had some really interesting projects being explored in Guatemala. And I think we started the company just right in time when that boom started of mining in Guatemala.
Mm-hmm.
So we had at that time several interesting projects of nickel already in the side of the Caribbean. And it was called, was from
Oh,
Inco, from the time of Inco, Valley Inco at that time. And then a bit later, Blamis entered as well with a project of gold that was was changed after to Gold Corp.
mm-hmm.
And we had that project. So I started really when our company was founded, but then at the same time, everything of mining was starting, and we jumped right into the industry. Um, so was like a kind of a coincidence maybe for
Yeah.
us. I remember I thought I should study mineralogy, and I thought, what I'm going to do with a mineralogist title. I was not completely sure because we were so new in the space as well. But yeah, it was kind of a
Yeah.
destiny to work in the industry just because what was happening in our country. And now our company has been working in 19 countries in 4 continents, and we have now 5 offices
Wow.
in the region of the Americas. So it's been because of the growth that you can also have due to the mining industry. And most of our clients are from the mining industry.
When I think I'm sure for a lot of folks, when they think about mining, they might think of Peru and Chile, but they probably don't think about like Guatemala, right? I don't think people will think of Guatemala as a mining jurisdiction who aren't in the industry, and so what a cool thing to be part of really that big push. And are you starting to see it as more of a recognized destination for folks from a mining perspective?
And no, it's hard. It's super hard. And it's part why one of the reasons we work in Women in Mining Central America hard on the advocacy side, not just for advocating for the sector, but for people outside our country and region, seeing it as a destination. Sadly, the news that most of the time people hear from our region in mining are the bad
Yeah.
news. We have had some big headliners. I don't know if you have seen them recently, for example, from First Quantum in Panama, what's been happening. From Guatemala, we had also the problem with, not a problem, but yeah, it's a problem. With they stopped the project that's now of Pan American Silver and called El Escobal. And that project would have been, the second biggest mining silver mine in the world. So it's a huge project and a lot of potential. And it's just they didn't do, the government didn't do public consultation because of indigenous. And well, that's what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
So that project is stopped. So I think there is still a lot of things happening in our region that makes it hard. But at the same time, you don't choose where the minerals are, and we have them.
Yeah. You have to go to where the rocks are, right? I mean, where the really good rocks are.
Yeah.
And there are, I shouldn't say, I mean, I think I go back and forth. Some people say there are so few places on the earth that haven't been explored yet. But then, then you talk about like a list of countries where you have stuff like this going on. And it's like, no, there's plenty of jurisdictions that really haven't gotten the attention they deserve from a geologic perspective because of other concerns. Right? I mean,
yeah,
geopolitical or, legal and regulatory, whatever they may be.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's been definitely a hard process. We have a big anti-mining movement as well. That's been an interesting one as well because it's not local people. It's people coming from abroad that have another agenda.
It's like nonprofits from other, like NGOs and nonprofits from other countries. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're the ones pushing and doing the movements of the anti-mining movements. So, we have this third hand always in our countries trying to mix our things and trying to leave us poor instead of seeing it as an opportunity for growth for people to have a decent life for them and their families. I remember when the project of Pan American closed in Guatemala, they had to fire so many people. And a lot of them, what has been happening in Central America, everyone tries to go up to north, right? And go as an illegal immigrant. So it's insane to think that we're taking away opportunities for people and they have to go illegally somewhere to try to find a job when we could have provided it there
Yeah.
locally.
And these are high quality jobs too, right? I mean, I think that's especially the way we mine now. These are, well paying, safe, high tech in a lot of cases,
Yeah,
jobs for folks.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's kind of, we say in Spanish, myope, right? A short-sighted
But
view of what is
yeah,
really, yeah, of what is happening, and really thinking that there's no space to have biodiversity and mining, work together. When you have seen such great examples around the world of how those mining sites then are amazing places they have developed for
yeah,
tourism, and so many things that you can think of. So I think it's just sad,
yeah.
but we're hoping that with what the work we're doing, we can change people's perspective and the narrative surrounding mining.
And how do you see if it is that kind of third voice that's coming in, how do you counter that? I mean, because of course you can work locally with local stakeholders and get them to understand mining and all the risks, but also the benefits. And certainly you can talk to foreign companies coming in or foreign investment money coming in, but how do you handle that third angle? That must be
um
interesting.
I would think, and one of the reasons that I wrote the book is I'm hoping through education, if people are more educated about what really mining is about, they understand the importance of the industry. And also, it's funny because you have a lot of them anti-miners there running around, waving and talking with, with the that they don't want mining, and they have cell phones, they have, so people are really understanding that we need that to live the way we're living now. I think it's important. And that's part of the idea really of the book as well. And part of what a lot of the initiatives that we have an initiative with kids that is called the Kids Mineralogist Club. We have been working with around 3,000 kids now, bringing education of minerals and of the importance of the mining
Mhm.
industry, but really from a mineral perspective.
Yeah.
What is this minerals and what they are used for, um, and trying to make it like a scouts, minerals, like a scouts for mining. So it has been a great way to educate, because kids get educated, their family gets educated, everyone surrounding them, they have shared the information they have learned with their schools, and they bring posters. So it's a great way to educate, because what they're doing, this mining NGOs, is spreading lies and telling them, look, they're going to do this and they're going to damage this. But if they have knowledge and are educated and know, no, this is what is really happening and this is how it's done, and this is, then you have a voice out there as well that can contrast
Yeah.
that what they're saying, right? So we have several initiatives that have to do with education, with also with we did an agreement with several museums to have specific areas in the museums of minerals and of mining, and then we're working directly with the guides of the museums and training them about the minerals, like something similar what we do with the kids, but with the
Yeah.
adults that are in the museums. And it's great because they get like what 200,000 people a year in the
Yeah,
museums,
that you can explore.
and if we have them, then we're, so it's not just us, but trying to get more people into it, trying to make conversations, trying to unify as well. I think our industry, a lot of our industry always tries to work by themselves,
Yeah.
and I think if we get together and try to have a same voice, and I think then we can manage much more, sharing best practices as well. We had right now last week all the managers of all the mines in our
Mhm.
region come together and sharing best practices.
Yeah.
So I think that is also very important because it makes us stronger, learning from the mistakes from the others, and or learning from their great successes too.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point because I know it's one of my uh, pet peeves or things that I would love to see the industry embrace more is speaking as one voice as the industry instead of, you know, especially bigger companies, like they focus a lot on their company and what they're doing, but they're really, and I know there are some organizations out there that say that they're doing this, but I just see it like in popular culture, right? Like the oil and gas industry, agriculture industry, the tech industry, like they all have such a more visible presence in pop culture because they unify behind presence, right? And they get messages out about what they're doing and their value to the world by collaborating on that. And I think it's something that we really don't do well as an industry at all. And there's really so much in common, that there's plenty to still be competitive about, right? But there are a lot of messages that we can come behind as one team.
Yeah, I think that's crucial for our industry. And we have the other thing I think that we have made the mistake is always try to keep low key.
Yeah.
We want to always, okay, if they cannot see us, then it's better for us. So I think that is such a big mistake too, because that's exactly the reason why we get attacked and these mining NGOs brainwash everyone instead of them knowing the truth since the beginning.
Yeah.
So I think that has been a problem that I see as well a lot. And I don't think it's just a Central American thing. It's like, it's a mining thing.
Yeah, I think for a long time, companies thought in order to get permits and approval, the quieter you kept everything, the better. The more likely you were to have a project advance. And on the one hand, I think the world has just changed and you have to be much more proactive about communications. You can't just like you said, kind of sneak on by through the process, right? But also, I think it's this idea that you have to be able to proactively talk about what you're doing, because if you don't get approved, right? If something gets shut down and then you start to try to communicate why what you're doing is important, I mean, you're behind by years, right? So people don't even know to miss us when we're gone, because they didn't even begin with doing anything worth doing.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think the other mistake that we have done is, I remember I got once the comment, I'm not from the industry because I'm a service provider. So I think, that's
like another mining person.
Yeah. And I thought, this is so wrong because we are all part of the chain. And I remember one of the companies, when they did need our help, they did say, oh, mining providers, you need to raise your voice up for us too. Yeah. But you have to treat us as part of the industry if you want that, And right now, for example, that I'm seeing what is unfolding in Panama, they have 7,000 employees, but they have, I think, indirectly, they hire around 40,000 people more for a service provider directly at the mine. So if you see, it's such an important piece and element. Yeah. And if you think of all the companies that are needed to support the company, you cannot not take them into account. You need to take them as part of your stakeholders and try to involve them since the beginning in understanding what you're doing. And even if it's a cleaning service, they're still part of you too.
Right.
Understand they can be the part of your advocates as well. So I think that is part of what we have not been doing right in our industry as well.
No, I think that's so spot on, because I certainly see it in what we do at Prospector. We deal with mining company data like all day, every day. And it sometimes is hard to get companies to even talk to you about what you're doing, because there is this very corporate mindset, I think, right? Where we handle everything in-house, when you're spot on. Like, mining companies, to grow and scale and do new technology and innovative ideas, they can't do it all. And it's better to work with service providers and other types of companies so that you can get further faster, right? That's the other part, is you can move a lot faster by working with groups that are kind of outside of your corporation, especially in things like on the environmental side and, local relationships and all of that. If you're new to a country, I mean, the local service providers are should be your best friend, because they're already there doing the work and know everybody.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of room of improvement. And like I said, it's not just Central America and the Caribbean where I think it's an issue. I think it's a wider issue. But I've been trying to tackle it directly in our region because we have had so many, things that have been happening. It's like you're trying to, you have new fires almost every day of something happening in one of our countries, and you feel it's never ending. It's been hard. It's been a hard process. And when you're there locally too, I remember I used to say I'm an environmental consultant for the mining industry. If you're not in a mining space, you have to duck. You almost feel like someone is going to throw a rock at you. So it's hard. It's hard. It's working for the industry. And I think that's where we need to change the perception people have about the industry so badly. We really need it because otherwise our projects are going to die off because they're going to, the anti-mining movement is going to win.
Yeah. No, it's I think it's such a great point. And do you see, I mean, of course, all of the countries in Central America and the Caribbean are so different, right? In so many different ways. Do you see progress in one area more than another, like with different countries, or is it consistent as a region? I guess I should ask that first. Is it consistent across the region, or are you seeing challenges in some areas and advancements in others?
I mean, historically, we were one country. We split apart, and if you see our flags, they're almost the same too. Now we celebrate Independence Day the same day, so we are very similar. Many things, speak the same language. We have certain difference, but for example, if you think of Central America, we are biodiversity. Our biodiversity is very similar. We are a quarter for our different species.
Yeah.
So several of the things that we face are very similar. I think maybe in certain countries things are a bit different. Just if you think about Panama and the Panama Canal and maybe the influence the United States had on them, I think maybe there might be some differences there, including that people earn a bit more than other of the countries. But I think historically we have a lot of similarities.
Okay.
And I think where the mining industry specifically, I think there are differences. Honduras has a longer history of mining. They have a mine, for example, that has been operating, I think, for almost 100 years. And the Dominican has also, for example, several mines that are a bit older. I think the mine of Barrick Pueblo Viejo is from the 60s or 70s or something around there. So it's also a bit older. That was owned by the government before as well. And they messed it up and had to find someone to come in, do it properly. Panama on the other side has this mine. This is the first mine they developed, and I think it started operating in 2018 or 2017, something around there. So it's still quite new. So I think because of that, there's a bit differences of how people perceive the industry, and but I would think that in general we are agricultural kind of countries instead of mining countries as much. Although in Dominican Republic, I think the biggest exporter of the country is mining.
Wow. Okay.
I think it's around 72% of exportations are mining exportations.
Wow, that's huge. Yeah,
that's huge. So I think there's some variations, but I think the challenges are very similar.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting. I didn't realize that it would be that similar across the whole region. So do you see a lot of companies then working across the region in multiple countries because of the?
No, we have different companies in each of the regions. We have, like I said, Pan American Silver in Guatemala. We have some Eastern European as well, doing some nickel work in Guatemala. We have Lundin Group of companies as well with a project in Guatemala. We have in Honduras Aura Minerals. We have, for example, also in Nicaragua, Calibre Mining. I think that's the biggest one there. Also Baco Mining. I think you met the CEO last time. We have in Costa Rica, I think there's some mining, but it's underground mining and not much. And mainly they're English. In Panama, First Quantum. And Dominican, we have Falcondo that's now owned by, I think, Swiss Greeks. And Cormidom that's, I think, mostly Chinese. And Barrick that's Canadian. So you don't see that they are all over our countries, but different big companies are in the region.
Very cool. Well, I've been asking Anna, like at the end of every episode, and you could go a whole bunch of different directions with your background on this, but if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about the mining industry, what would you change? You look like you have a whole list.
I don't even know where to start with that question. Let's say it like that. like you say, I think I have a like last time they asked me also, um, what would be the changes if you would be a ministry and like a minister of, and I had so many answers to that one too. Uh, it's a hard question. I'm not completely sure. I think the magic one needs to be super powerful to do all the things that I want them to do. But I think I would love the mining companies to be more open and try to hide less. Um, there's still places where you feel that like they ask you not to come dressed like with looking like a miner because they're worried that people would see that you're going into the like to the mine. So I think that sucks.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, but it does. So I think if I would change something, it would be that people don't feel afraid of being part of the industry, but they feel proud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a great one. And I agree. Thank you so much. And I will put in, we'll have in our intro and on the episode, everybody, if you're listening, you can go in and look at that and we'll have a link for where you can order Anna's Adventures in the Mine. So really look forward to watching this. And I mean, it's just been huge, the growth with the book and everything over the last few months. It has been so cool to see you post like every month, like new languages available, and stuff. So congratulations again on everything that you're working on and look forward to having you back sometime soon.
Thank you for having me, Emily. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much.